tick, 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 tick. I'm sure most of you have heard that there's another round of bird flu buzzing around the news, buzzing around social media. Some people are asking, is it real? Is it a scam? And everybody has their own opinions, people jumping into all kind of theories and so many different things. And I'm the type of person, I don't believe in circulating anything false, any theory out there that I don't have any evidence for. And I believe going right to the source and talking to people who are directly affected by whatever it is that's going on. And with that, it's an honor to have the guest on here that I have today. He's actually a gentleman that I met last year at the APA conference in Allen, Texas. And I've been meaning to have him on my YouTube channel for some time now, but really hadn't gotten to it. And then I wish we were getting together for the first time under different circumstances. But once I heard about how his farm was recently devastated by the bird flu, I was like, man, I gotta talk to him. I gotta talk to Mark and hear what he has to say and to see what all they've been experiencing and hear from it firsthand. So with that, I would like to introduce today's guest, Mark Metzer. Mark, thank you for being on with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Mark, I want to ask, since I've seen it circulating, all these conspiracy theories, and some people are accusing you guys of joining forces to conspire to promote this bird flu. Is that true?
No, I wish I was on here for different circumstances. It's not something I want to promote.
So what have you guys been dealing with? I heard that you guys have lost thousands of ducks, geese, and eggs. What happened? What has happened?
Yeah, well, one of our farms in California, a little over 2 months ago, we got the bird flu, and so that was devastating news. Luckily, we've kind of had risk management plans, and that's why we have multiple farms in California, and then servicing our hatchery in California and multiple farms around Tennessee to service our Memphis hatchery. So luckily, we're able to continue operations as normal, though it is devastating for that farm in California that did get the bird flu.
So what happens when the birds are coming down with the bird flu? Because there's people out there that don't believe in them. They're just thinking birds are being killed for no reason. Explain what happened when you guys first realized that you were having this happen on the farm.
Well, I mean, I remember walking from. I'm in Memphis right now at our hatchery, but at the time I was actually in California because it was around Thanksgiving time. So I'd walk from my house to the hatchery every morning, and I usually stop in my dad's office just to say good morning and see what's going on. And that's when he said, "Oh, the birds in barn 3 had about half the eggs as they normally do," and so that's when we first became suspicious of something. And when you hear your egg production drops in half in one day, your first thoughts are, well, could it be feed? Could it be water? What could be any other reason other than bird flu? Because you don't want it to be that reason. So you just immediately investigate all the different possibilities. And the water was fine. The water was on. They had plenty of feed. The pen next to them didn't have egg production drop because one of our barns, we have separate pens to keep the breeds from mixing, and it was just the pen at the very end of the building, and that dropped, and so we really kept an eye on it. Told only one person they can go in it, and once they go in that barn, don't go into any other barns, don't interact with any other birds. And the next day, their eggs dropped another half, and then the pen next to them started to drop in half. So it was a slow moving process through the building. So that's when we knew something was really wrong.
Wow. So at that point, what do you do? Did you continue to see anything like just birds that were dead, or what progressed from there?
Yeah, mortality didn't shoot up real fast, but each day there was more and more. So the first day when egg production dropped, we called our vet first thing and asked him, and he said, you've got to go take your birds to UC Davis is our closest lab, our California State lab. And so we had to take 2 birds to the lab to get tested. And then, because they're the ones that tell you what's wrong. If we have increased mortality or something seems wrong with the ducks any time of the year, we'll take them to the lab and kind of try to figure out if something's wrong. Ducks are really hardy, so it doesn't happen very often that something seems wrong, but this, we knew it was a bigger deal.
And what is the mortality rate for that on ducks?
It changes by breed, actually. It was our Pekin flock that was first hit, and then next to them was our jumbo show Pekins, and then we had black Muscovy next to them and Cayuga next to them. And I think it affected the Muscovy more and the Cayuga more than the Pekin. So I don't know why it affects some of the strains more than others, but they do start to die. And I know for turkeys, I've talked to turkey people, the turkeys start dropping really quick if they get it. We don't have any turkeys on that farm, but it devastates a flock.
Wow. And I'm sure that's just gut wrenching when you guys were found out that was happening.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
for us, for me, my dad, and then the employees that work with those ducks, because they care about those ducks too. So it's everybody that interacts with the animals.
Are there PCR tests that are being used for, I guess, the ducks as well as chickens, or what is the type of testing that is done?
We take them to. I'm not the scientific one to ask. I rely on our vet in the lab, and my dad knows more about the science behind all the testing and all that. But I do know that they do a preliminary test in UC Davis, and if it's expected positive, then they actually send it to Iowa, and Iowa is where they do the test that's 100% correct. And we brought in 2 ducks, and so they tested both of them. And then I think a couple days later we brought in 4 or 5, and then they test those too. So there are multiple tests that they're doing on multiple ducks to come up with their conclusion of what's wrong.
Oh wow! And once you figured out that was going on, or they told you the results, what do you got? You just had to put the rest down to keep the thing from spreading, or what's the course of action? Is there a quarantine involved?
Our first course of action was, how do you prevent this from spreading to our other farms? So that's the main thing is, okay, let's stop it here. Let's not let it get further out. So our first action was, don't let any employees cross paths between farms. We don't want that. So that was our first thing that we did, and then stepped up our biosecurity at our other farm in Hollister. Not that there was a lot to step up, because we've been prepared for this the whole time. We know people with other farms in California that were getting it. And so we were already having weekly meetings with everybody of all the precautions that we need to take. So that was the first thing. Next is that the USDA sent over a veterinarian to kind of oversee the whole process at the farm. And our veterinarian was from out of state. They've had to bring in veterinarians from out of state, working through the holidays. Like I said, this was around Thanksgiving time. And just because it's been devastating in California, dairies are getting it, and dairies, you don't put down the cow. They're just kind of trying to get through it with the dairies, but that's causing wild birds flying out of dairies, because dairies, it's a lot harder to keep biosecure in terms of wild birds and all that.
Yeah.
And so it's been really tough. We thought we were somewhat isolated or protected because we're in Salinas Valley and there's not dairies around us or other poultry farms. And so we felt safer there. But, they said it could blow through the wind, and we don't have fully closed buildings. We got chicken wire and open, and Salinas, if anybody's been to Salinas Valley, the wind howls through there every afternoon, which is great for the ducks and keeping things dry and all that, and mild temperatures. But I guess with that's one more possibility of a way the avian influenza could get in, because there's hundreds, and we just do everything to try to check off each box of how we're trying to prevent it. And it's tough.
Wow. And well, with that, and you guys were having discussions, what were some of the things that you all were talking about? And you talked about employees not crossing farms and things like that. What are some other measures that practical measures that others could take to try to protect our flocks as well?
Yeah, well, I think my opinion for the main vectors are wild birds. That's a wild blackbird or a wild mallard duck or wild goose. So I'm not a duck hunter or anything like that. But if you are, I would say if you're going to do that and you have a flock at home, definitely separate clothes, separate shoes, shower, take some time off between hunting and going back to your home flock. For people that have lactating cows, apparently that is what holds the virus. And so be careful of interacting with lactating cows and your poultry. That is another possibility of bringing in the virus, as far as I understand. It's really tough because you can't see the virus. And so if you could, it'd be so much easier to prevent.
Yeah.
But you can't see it, which is really frustrating. And it's really hard when you get it, or somebody gets it, but they don't exactly know when, where, and how. That's the really tough part.
Wow. And for those who are saying it's not real, you're experiencing real effects from it. So you're just like, yeah, there's definitely something happening to our birds here. You first saw,
yeah, there's something happening.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've got friends, that it's happened, that they've lost birds, and it's just really sad.
Wow. And then there's also a lot of us who raise pasture poultry, and it's almost impossible to keep birds from coming around and flying around your flocks.
Yeah,
so,
it is. I mean, that when I talk to our vet, whether it's about this or salmonella or whatever, he just says, you just keep doing your best to kind of plug all the holes. You can never be 100% guarded against anything. He just says, you just kind of do your best to check off as many boxes as you can. Nothing's 100% foolproof. And that's for a virus or salmonella or whatever other types of sicknesses or diseases are out there.
Now, have you guys experienced anything like this in the past? And has there been any birds that have been able to weather through some of these things? And
that's what I'm wondering if. So my understanding is some backyard poultry flocks they've allowed to weather through, if that's the right term, weather through the virus. But the reason I'm told is they just don't have the labor or the resources to help every backyard flock that could possibly have avian influenza. They used to put down backyard flocks, but the last I've heard, they don't anymore because they just don't have the resources. They're bringing in vets from out of state to help. And so if they have limited vets and the vet has to choose between a 10 chicken backyard flock versus, some of those chicken farms are really big, and taking care of that one, they're going to go to the farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are you aware of any other courses of treatment for them in dealing with that?
No, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. There is, I know that France is testing out the like a vaccine for it, for waterfowl specifically, because France has a lot of ducks, and they have genetic companies there that like to export the duck genetics throughout the world. And so they have really high value ducks, and they've been hit by avian influenza year after year after year. And so they've used this vaccine this past year, and apparently it was really effective. Um, the the issue with using the vaccine is with trade agreements. Originally, when trade agreements were set up, they said you can't use the vaccine if you're going to sell me your birds, kind of deal. And so that's why countries have shied away from the vaccine. But the amount of devastation and the way it hurts the animals, we got to look into that as an option. And I think it will be allowed here eventually. But again, that's also brings in politics and trade agreements and all that stuff. And I'm just trying to farm my ducks day after day. So I mean, this is stuff that I've just read and learned. I don't have any inside knowledge whatsoever. So
Okay.
take that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I want to give you an opportunity to also, you have been your family has been doing this for quite some time now, right? Farming. Can you explain a little bit about that? You guys have a lot of experience with raising waterfowl.
Yeah. So, well, my grandpa was the one that first bought ducks quite a while ago. He was a English teacher, and he really enjoyed gardening. So he bought a flock of ducks to help with his gardening and eating insects and snails and slugs and all that. And he actually started to hatch some, and people every once in a while want to buy some eggs or some ducklings. And so he would dabble in that on the side, but he really enjoyed teaching. Three of my four grandparents were teachers, so a lot of teachers in my family. And around that time that people were wanting to buy more and more, my dad was in college, and so he decided to just start Metzer Farms officially right after graduation. And so after that, he went to UC Davis actually, and he came back down to Slings Valley and started hatching ducks, and started more breeds and more breeds. And each year since then, we've grown a little bit. And I would work on the farms with my sisters, and we really enjoyed it. And so after college, I actually taught English for a year in Korea. And then I
Wow.
worked which was very, very fun. I really enjoyed that. And then so after that, I worked for a big vegetable company in Salinas Valley, because that's what Salinas Valley is known for. It's Steinbeck country, the author. And then I decided to come back to Metzer Farms and join my dad, and kind of grew from there, and realized we needed a little bit more space. So I added another farm, and then added Memphis. And then that's kind of when everybody was talking about the avian influenza and the flu. And we thought we got to diversify our flocks. And that's when we just started really spreading out our flocks and having a lot of small farms versus just like one or two big farms. And that's really a smart move. And I think people are kind of tending to move that way. And for us, it's really paid off, because if we didn't do that, and all our ducks were in one basket, all our ducks were in one farm, things would be different today.
Wow.
So.
Wow. That's interesting that you said English in Korea. That's pretty neat. My daughter's in the K-pop and learning Korean.
Yeah.
So you speak it well?
No, well, it was really funny, actually. I don't speak it, but I was there I was there for a year. I was there for about 6 months, and one of my friends decided to go teach English too. And so he went, and we were hanging out one day, and he could all of a sudden read Korean. I'm like, wait a second, how did you?
Wow.
And he's like, it's really easy, and it is. It's I think the easiest language to learn to read.
Wow.
And I had flashcards, and I learned how to read it in a day. And I was like, why didn't I do this on day one?
Wow.
It makes it so much easier to read the rest menus and all that. But this was before kind of K-pop became popular in the United States.
Yeah.
And remember that song Gangnam Style with
Yeah. Yeah.
so I lived in Gangnam.
Oh, wow.
Seoul. Yeah, so it was really funny when the song came out. I was like, hey, that's where I live.
That's cool. Cool. So what was it that brought you back to farming with your family?
Well, I always knew I wanted to kind of be in agriculture. I grew up doing 4-H and pigs and sheep and all that. I really enjoy the business aspect of being able to make decisions and being innovative and making changes and all. That's what really brings me joy, is trying to always improve processes and improve things, and whether it's customer experience or different ways to ship or new breeds. It really brings me joy to try to do all that, or new types of watering systems for our ducks. It just brings me a lot of joy to do that. And by working on the family farm, you get to do a lot of that. And I mean, we're a lot smaller than like the vegetable company I worked at and all that. And so you get to be more flexible and make changes and pivot real quickly. And that's what I really enjoy.
That's neat. That's neat to hear. So
Mhm.
your family has seen a lot over the years. Now that you're the third generation, right, of working with Metzer Farms here. So you've all have probably weathered all kinds of storms and learned so many different lessons along the way. Would you say that this is the worst thing you've been through, or just another one of those bumps that years where you've had something just terrible happen?
No, this is the worst thing. I mean, it's there's not a lot of good that could come from it, but it's tough. It's tough on the employees. It's tough on everybody, really. I wouldn't recommend it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. So now that thankfully you guys, what was it? I guess that you all decided that you needed to disperse and have, I guess, different farms, so that way if something like this did happen, you guys wouldn't be totally out of commission.
Yeah, well, it was just reading the news or hearing about other farms in California, because that's where we all started, or that's where we started, and just having a whole farm just have to be depopulated. And we thought if that ever happened to us, it would be game over. Now, we do have good relationships with a lot of different hatcheries. So, if something happened to another hatchery, we would help them out, get back up with genetics and stuff. And I'm sure they would help us out too. But it's just a smart thing to do with the risk management of diversifying farms. And then with Memphis, that helps a lot because we're able to ship eggs from either California to here or from here, Tennessee, to California. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. And then, if depending on where our customers are in the United States, we could either push more eggs to California or bring more eggs to Tennessee. And so that aspect of reducing shipping time and all that. And the initial thought with Memphis also was it's next to FedEx. FedEx is the world hub is right here in Memphis. So we thought, shipping time would be so much better if we're in Memphis. So we moved here 3 years ago. And for the first 2 years, shipping was better in Memphis, not incredibly better. But this past year, the contract that the post office has with FedEx changed a little bit. And so they're taking different flights. And so the past 4 months, we've had half of our shipments arrive within 24 hours to the customer.
Wow, that's
So,
fantastic.
yeah, that's something we're stoked about. And so that's something that going into next year, we're super excited about having some delivery drop points that customers could pick up at certain locations, bypassing the post office. And then, we have call ducks and Australian spotted and all that. So there's a lot of things to look forward to next year. We got some heritage turkeys. So
That's great.
yeah, there's a lot of things to be thankful for. And, that's why we're always kind of planning and diversifying and doing all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Now, with this being, you said this has been the worst thing that you all have experienced. Would you see, how do I want to put it? What would you say is the cause of some of this? Would you say that some of the things that weaken immune systems? Why do you have any of your own? I'm not jumping into all kind of gray areas here, but do you have any ideas of why you think these things are happening now?
I don't. I wonder the same thing. Has avian influenza always been an issue? And if so, why is it a bigger issue now? What's different? And again, I'm just a farmer. I don't know, but I mean, I don't have decades and decades of experience farming, so maybe it was happening in the 70s. I don't know, but there's farms. You can go on the USDA website and it shows you what farms, or what, not farms, but what areas had farms that got it. And the reason, there's the migration of ducks that it kind of follows, because looking at the map of the United States, there's certain regions that it's just really, I think the USDA website uses green, and the darker the green, the more birds that have gotten it in that state. And California is super green. There seems to be certain areas of the United States that are a lot more greener than others. And some parts of the United States barely get touched at all. I mean, looking at Georgia and Alabama and Florida, there's a ton of chickens there, probably more chickens than anywhere else in the United States. And it's almost barely touched by avian influenza.
Interesting.
So maybe it's the weather. So maybe because it's warmer there, it's not as infectious.
Okay. Huh. Interesting.
I don't know. Again, this is just stuff I've kind of learned and all that, but I don't have the scientific reasons or.
Yeah. But overall, with you being the third generation now, a lot of your techniques and things that you do to raise your animals are they pretty much the same as they have been with your grandfather when he raised them?
I feel like I want to say we've improved things. Not that they were bad then, but we're always looking to improve the way we're doing things. Actually, that first barn that got hit in California, that my dad said, half the egg production dropped in half. We had pens in there with different watering systems for the ducks to bathe in. We were trying different things to see how it affects the ducks. With giving them a pool with 24-hour access versus just letting them go in the pool for a couple hours a day. All that. And so that was actually the barn that got the sickness.
Oh wow!
But like you said, people want to free range their birds and let them outside, but then you have the risk of wild birds and all that. So it's all a balance that you just have to do your best to keep your flock healthy and safe. And you have employees that are relying on a job to, and so we need to keep those birds around for them too. And we have families and they have families and all that. So we just do our best.
Yeah. It sounds like whatever style that you're doing of raising your animals, there's always a certain level of risk of anything that could happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one that kind of thinks that the more people that are raising them, they're good, because I don't want anything bad to happen to you guys, but as far as hatcheries and things like that. But if you do, and there's if you just had the one farm and then you were totally wiped out, then there could be breeds that would be just could be gone for forever. So I don't know if you agree, but having different people in different areas raising these breeds to preserve them, especially some of the breeds that are like on the livestock conservancy list of as far as on watch and things like that, I do think it's important to preserve them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for our part, we take our, let's say that Australian spotted, that's a great example. We worked with the livestock conservancy on getting that duck. I asked, what duck breeds need help? And they said Australian spotted. So, okay, cool. Let's go find some Australian spotted that we can get and reproduce and then put on multiple farms. So now we got our first Australian spotted last year, and they're on 3 different farms right now. And so the thing is, we need to be able to sell the ducks to make it economical to keep raising them and spread the genetics. So yeah, I'm all about, people being able to whether they're ducks or chickens or whatever, and buy them and then have them on their own farm and, collect eggs from them or hatch them themselves or, all of that. And we're seeing right now that egg prices seem to be going up, and I assume it's because of the avian influenza. And so that's another reason to either have some yourself or support your local farmer that, is raising them, smaller flocks in their pasture or whatever. And those micro economies are really important so that everybody can have what they need.
Yeah, I just think it'd be so sad to see a breed, a variety just disappear because of people just not being willing to raise these birds and keep them around. So one of the things I want to ask you is how can I think balance is really important with how people handle different things in the news, different things that they hear as far and how they raise their animals. Do you have any suggestions on how people can have, and even your customers, a balanced perspective in dealing with some of these matters?
No, I don't know. That's a heavy question.
I'm sure it is.
I don't. I mean, I just kind of take things one day at a time and focus
Yeah.
on what I need to do. And I do say it is tough to kind of stay out of going down wormholes sometimes about something. And I think because it's always flashing in front of your eyes in social media or the internet. And so we enjoy farming here and we enjoy what we do. And so that's really what keeps us busy. And that's what we're focusing on and always, trying to do better.
Yeah. Now, when you guys we were losing, how many did they force you all to put the animals down, or was that a decision you all made? I know that's a difficult thing to even talk about.
Yeah.
How
No,
do you
you
navigate those waters?
well, I don't know if there is much navigating. Yeah, they force you to do it.
Okay.
And the reason is it is twofold. So the virus can only, continue to live and spread if it's in a living host. And then also, they want the animal to be put down versus be sick and get sicker and sicker and sicker and then die. So that's kind of the two reasons that is their policy.
Okay. Wow. And one of the things that I also want to ask is, I want you to be able to share, is that you guys are still operational. You're still selling birds, because some people are thinking that you guys are just shut down. I want to give you a chance to kind of talk about that too.
Yeah. No, yeah, we still have the vast majority of our ducks and geese and all that coming into production right now. Right now as we speak. This is our Memphis hatchery behind me, and it's Sunday, so it's quiet, but tomorrow we'll be hatching quite a bit of ducks, and we've already set our first goose eggs, and we'll be starting turkeys in about a month and guineas. And so, yeah, we're open for business and we have availability, and you can go to our website right now and place orders for as soon as next week, actually. Like I said, that's the whole reason that we diversified, so that we could keep going if kind of the worst case scenario happened, and keep shipping birds, because a lot of our customers are growing these birds for their farm, for their job, for their, for their family. And so, it doesn't just affect us and our family and our employees. If we can't ship birds, it affects all of our customers. And so we've made plans, and so we unfortunately we got on one of our farms, but we'll keep shipping and selling birds.
There we go. And all signs indicate that your birds in your other areas are doing well.
Yep, still laying eggs. Egg
Go.
production has dropped. Like I said, we've in California, we've just done everything we can to keep those ducks on the other farm safe, and geese. And so we'll just continue doing that. And the farm that was had the avian flu, we will be open to repopulate in a couple weeks. We've already done all the swabs like a week ago or two, and you kind of do hundreds of swabs throughout the farm, everything, and they all came back negative. So pretty soon we'll be able to put birds back in there and start that farm again.
Wow. We had a number of questions that come in, so we'll ask some of those. Tamara's asking about natural herbs for improving the health of your flock. Do you guys do any of that? Recommend any of that? Anything specific?
I don't have anything specific. We've worked with a nutritionist that helps formulate our feed, and what we use when our ducks are starting to seem like they might be getting sick, or we're going to move them to a new barn, or just there's a transition in something beyond what their normal day-to-day looks like, is our waterfowl. It's our Vitamets waterfowl boost, and that our nutritionist put together specifically for ducks. So it hits all the nutritional needs plus some for ducks specifically. And for us, that has worked wonders. And then we've gotten feedback from people that have purchased it from us, and they absolutely love it. You can mix it in the water or top dress it on feed, and that does really well. In terms of the natural herbs and all that, I haven't done much with them, but I hear people have really good success with those, and so I'm all about that kind of stuff too.
Now, and you can say no if you can't do this. Could you share any of the recipes of what you all put in your duck feed to help them flourish?
Well, our duck feed that we feed them, yeah, it's on our website. You can go
Okay.
under a nutritional tab and kind of see what we put in our feed. And then the Vitamets Waterfowl Boost, it has probiotics, prebiotics, and all those are listed on the bag, exactly what's in there
Okay.
with the vitamins and nutrients and all that.
Does it have ratios too of what you put in?
Percentages. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I got to check that out. All right.
Yeah, do it for sure.
Some other questions. Someone's asking, can a bird eventually heal from the bird flu, or is it something that's always just critical? And I'm sure that probably, it may even differ from strand to strand, apparently, from what I've heard.
Yeah. So can it survive? Yeah, it can. Can all of them? No. What percent? If you just let it go through, I don't know. I've talked to, I know that turkeys, I've talked to a turkey guy, and he tried to let it go through, and it got just about every one of his turkeys except for like a couple. But interestingly, for it affects older birds more than young birds. So a bird that's 3 weeks or younger, I would say, it doesn't really seem to affect them as far as I've seen and heard about. So it really affects the older birds. And when I say older, I'm talking 14 weeks or older than that. So that's the interesting thing to me, is why doesn't it affect the new hatchlings where it does the older birds? Okay.
Now, the gentleman you just spoke of, did the birds that you said turkeys, I think, right? That survive through that? Did they have any effects at all, or did they come out hardier? or is it just something he just experimented with?
I asked, and he didn't know, but
Okay.
because I did ask, I was curious about that too. And I did, and my question was, if they had it and they didn't die, would their offspring be like, have some type of built up immunity?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said he didn't think so.
Okay.
But again, this is just farmers talking and
Yeah.
trying to learn from each other. Could you test for the offspring or the turkey poults from it, or ducklings that their parent got it, and find some antibodies in there? Maybe.
Yeah.
But those are all questions that I'm really curious about too. And I don't have answers to.
Yeah. 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 That'd be something I would experiment, but I can understand on the scale that you guys are on, why another reason why you couldn't just fight through that, because you're also losing money at the same time if your birds aren't producing eggs. Am I right on that? Or
Yeah,
a
well,
lot of
yeah,
money.
because they're all ducks and egg production, and it's going through the whole farm. And so, like I said, day after day, the halves were getting cut in half. So after 2 days, you go from 100% eggs to 25% eggs, and then it just continues to drop from there. And then you have mortality and all that you're dealing with too.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see it from you all's perspective on how that also isn't sustainable for your business at the same time too.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we could ride it through and it drops for a little bit and then comes back up, that'd be a different story.
Yeah, yeah,
But it doesn't do that,
yeah,
because I think for dairy cows, I don't have any dairy cows. I think it hits the dairy cow, their milk drops to zero, but then after a week or two, it comes back up. That's
Interesting.
what I've been told. It's not like that for birds. The egg production drops and then the bird dies.
Wow, wow. Another question is, if the birds are under a roof, does that help keep the avian flu down? And is airflow, having that airflow, is that important as well?
It does help keep it down, but it's not 100% foolproof. So yes, it's helpful. Is it foolproof? No. Wind, I've been told it could come in from wind. And if there's a big enough low virus load upwind, it can be blown into the farm. There is a website, and I don't remember, but it tracks migration of birds with like Doppler radar that they use to track clouds. And they've programmed it to know what flocks of ducks and geese look like. And so you could search for that, and that'll tell you when you're going to have a big migration wave. And something they've learned from that is most migration and flying actually happens at night when you're unaware of it. So that's something I keep an eye on too, is when are birds going to be flying over our farms?
Wow. Wow. Well, we just have a few more minutes with Mark. If you guys, just encourage you to put your questions in, comments, if you have any more of those for him before we wrap this up. And thank you for those who have already put your comments and questions in. Really appreciate that. I want everybody to have their questions answered if we can. Mark, I also want to mention that you also will be speaking at this year's APA conference. You're going to be talking about processing ducks. Something we do a lot of here on our farm, and I wish I could be there seeing you. Regretfully, won't be there this year, but that'll be, what is that, January 23rd through the 25th in Allen, Texas.
Yeah, so I do have to say, I'm not a duck processor. I don't process ducks, and I don't have a lot of experience doing it. Just about no experience doing it. But I did talk to people that have done it, and gotten pointers from multiple people, gotten their tricks, gotten hints from them, water temperature, time and plucker, what to feed the ducks before you're going to process them. All those pointers, I collected them all, and I'm going to present on that, because processing duck is a stickler for a lot of people. It's tough for a lot of people. They try it and then they give up. And so I want to help those people do better. So Mike, I'll have to get your number one pointer for processing a duck? What is it?
First thing I would say is just prepare for it to be harder than chickens. It is. It's more work, and probably why they cost more money to when you have to buy them. But I guess if I would say really narrow it down, is to time the processing around when they molt. Feathers come off a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've done it when they haven't molted, and I've also done some at another farm. The birds were older, and man, was that tough.
Yeah. Talking to one of the guys, he said, don't go into processing duck thinking it's a chicken. They said they're 100% different. So don't even like have that mentality when you go into process a duck. So, and he now enjoys processing duck more than chickens. So
I could see that.
yeah. I'm excited to talk about it.
That's great.
Share the knowledge.
That's fantastic. And where can people buy products and ducklings and goslings and whatever else you guys sell? Somebody's asking about that.
Yeah, metzerfarms.com. Go to our website, lists all the ducks and geese and birds that we have and availability, and we'll ship them every week of the year. So we recommend right there. And then don't forget your Vitamets when you check out. That's something very handy to have.
Now, Mark, is there any particular duck or geese breed that's just your favorite?
Yeah, so it used to be call ducks, but now it's Australian spotted. Those are now, so call ducks were new to us last year. It was our first time we were offering them. Call ducks are like a bantam duck. They're small. They could fit in the palm of your hand. They quack a lot, and we have 7 different colors of those. Then this year we got Australian spotted, like I said, working with the Livestock Conservancy. So those are bantams too. They fit in your hand. The main difference is they're quieter. So they're a quieter duck. The call duck does a lot of calling. And so that would be my favorite duck. Goose, I like the buff goose. I think they're just really cool geese to see on grass or see in a pond. They're big and they're really pretty. And geese are just, I think, really neat creatures. So those are my 2 favorite waterfowl.
Now, is there a certain way that you like to eat duck?
Is there a certain way I like to eat duck? No, I mean, I like confit. I like having the confit duck. So I guess that might be my favorite type of duck. But then also going to a Chinese restaurant and having roast duck, something like that is pretty fabulous too. So I try to get it every so often when you go to a restaurant, try to get duck, but I'm not exclusively eating duck.
Yeah.
But my next time I cook a duck, I'm gonna spatchcock a duck. I've never done that. So that I want to try out. So if anybody has any pointers for that, they could throw that in the comments and I could read them later.
There we go. Yeah. Once you do that, send me some pictures of what it looks like. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on. Is there any last comments, things that you want to say and share with people?
No, I had a lot of fun and it was good talking to you, and I hope you can visit our hatchery sometime this year and I could show you all the different cool ducks that we got.
Yeah, definitely plan to do that. Well, thanks again. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.